Aston Villa reportedly enter the race for Feyenoord striker Igor Paixão. Does Emi Buendia's future lie away from Aston Villa? And my views on that Garnacho picture. Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with another transfer talk show. Yes, there's a bit of news hotting up here, there, and everywhere regarding Aston Villa. So we're going to get into it. Make sure you smash that like button and hit that subscribe button. Help us march on past 6,000 subscribers on the road to 10,000 subs. And hit that like button. We got over 150 likes on yesterday's video. Can we hit the big 200? Because it does really help the channel. And get your comments in below, your thoughts on the latest news that is surrounding Aston Villa. So where do we start? I guess let's start with that picture. Alejandro Garnacho posting a picture on Instagram with his Marcus Rashford shirt, Aston Villa shirt as well. And that has caused absolute uproar amongst football fans far and wide on X and every social media site. And I mean, my thoughts are, what has the world come to when everyone on social media, I know it's not the real world, but everyone, including pundits, Talk Sport, Sky Sports News, is it because we have to have this 24/7 rolling news that everything becomes a story? But all of a sudden, because a footballer wears an opposition shirt of a friend, all of a sudden means that he is disrespecting Manchester United. He's signing for Aston Villa. Means Rashford might be signing for Aston Villa because Rashford liked it and said, my bro. I mean, what is the world coming to? Can it not just be that he packed a football shirt of his friend in his suitcase and just pulled it out with something to wear because he wanted to pop to the shop or something like that? Like, why has everyone got to read so much into a story that all of a sudden it means that either Garnacho's signing or Marcus Rashford signing and he's disrespecting the manager at Manchester United? Why can't he just put a football shirt on? Like, I don't understand it. If he was playing five-a-side with his mates and he put someone's shorts on from Juventus and then put a shirt on from Aston Villa, like loads of us do when we're just playing down the park with our mates, can he not just do that? Like, I really don't understand it. Why does it all of a sudden mean that he's moving to Aston Villa? Why does it all of a sudden mean that he's disrespecting Manchester United? I really don't understand it. Is Ruben Amorim now all of a sudden going to call crisis meetings because Garnacho's worn a Marcus Rashford shirt? Like, what is the world coming to? Are we that weak as people that we get all in a tiz because a player wears an opposition football shirt? Is that how we are now? Like, get a grip, please, people. Honestly, it's most likely that he's just put a shirt on of his mate and that's it. Now, is he slightly responsible? Does he realize that he's going to get a reaction by posting it on Instagram? Of course he does. So is he slightly knowing what he's doing? Of course he does. Of course he does. But why are people feeding what Garnacho wants with that? He knows kind of what he's doing. Of course he knows he's going to create a reaction, but the reaction, you were responsible for your reaction. People have gone absolutely crazy over it and it's absolutely ridiculous. So no, it doesn't mean he's going to sign for Aston Villa, and it absolutely doesn't mean that Marcus Rashford is going to sign for Aston Villa. Frimpong wore Diaby's Aston Villa shirt a couple of years ago. That didn't mean that he was signing for Aston Villa. So let's not get carried away. Now, in reference to him posting a picture and maybe causing a bit of provocation, does that indicate that I would want him at Aston Villa? Probably not. I don't want footballers courting controversy and courting attention that is away from their performance on the football pitch. That's just me. I'm a bit more old school like that. So that's why I was kind of reluctant to take Marcus Rashford, because the story off the pitch is bigger than the story on the pitch. Now, he went quite a long way to answer those questions when he signed for Aston Villa, and he kept out of the limelight And he's mainly his football talking on the pitch, which was great. And he started playing with a smile on his face. Now, could Garnacho be something like that if Aston Villa were to be interested in him? Maybe, but he would take a lot of work and it would take a lot of time and take a lot of attention, in my opinion. And that is not something that I would want. I'd want him to humble himself a little bit and play for the team and be all about the team rather than about himself, which is a lot of, in my opinion, what John Duran was and why he was so frustrating for Unai Emery and why he was so frustrating for a number of the players, which is why John McGinn commented on what he commented, which is why Ollie Watkins commented on what he was commenting on. A lot of these young players want all of the trappings without the responsibility, and they want the controversy, they want the attention, but then they cry when they receive negative feedback. Don't do it. Let your football on the pitch do the talking, and then the rewards will come later on down the line. That's my opinion. So for me, based on that, the reaction has been ridiculous. I will admit that. But in terms of the courting the attention, Garnacho knew exactly what he was doing. And that for me would be a reason for not signing him. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Yes, great ability. Yes, good player. Yes, lots of potential. But no, in terms of attitude, from my perspective, and courting that controversy off the pitch. Let your football do the talking. We're not interested in what you're doing off the pitch in terms of your Instagram pictures. Now, Aston Villa have apparently entered the race or have expressed interest in Feyenoord striker Igor Paixão, Brazilian striker, 24 years of age. Brazilian forward, operates off the left-hand side. Sorry, not a striker, forward/winger, which fits the profile for what apparently Unai Emery is interested in. Has played 93 times for Feyenoord in the league, scored 32 goals, has one cap for Brazil under 23s. Now, we know the competition that Brazil historically has had, so it doesn't mean he's a bad player in any way, shape or form. And maybe he's looking to kickstart his career to maybe push his way into the Brazilian setup. And like I said, does fit that profile in terms of what we may be looking at, a wide forward, someone who might be able to operate in the middle, but someone who can operate down either flank. Predominantly left wing, playmaking, positioning, and long shots seem to be his strengths. Comes in off the left onto his right foot. And you can see on the heat map there, obviously operates on that left-hand side and cuts in. Now, again, does that mean a slight change in tactical play from Unai? We've looked at Rodriguez. We've looked at one or two other players. We looked at Bakayoko yesterday, who operates down the right-hand side. So that would fit more with Unai Emery's model. Would this be a slight change to Unai Emery's model if we were to go for someone like Paixão? 34 appearances, 34 starts, 16 goals. So indicates a real eye for goal. And that is something that we need. I'd be interested to see how quick he is, because I've talked about pace and real frightening pace in the wide areas. So we've got a real threat in behind, because that was something that I think we lacked last season. 3 goals with his head, 13 goals with the right foot. So predominantly heavily right-footed, has 10 assists as well and created 12 big chances. Obviously, bearing in mind the Dutch league can be a little bit, not quite at the standard of the Premier League, although he's getting better. And it is an area where players can convert into Premier League football, and so not to be sniffed at any way, shape, or form. 78% in terms of accurate passes, 82% in his own half, and 67% in the opposition half. Does work hard, 3.1 ball recoveries per game. Total duels won, 51%, and 43% in terms of successful dribbles, and does try nearly 2 per game. So, productive player and someone who could be really useful. I think Arsenal potentially interested in him. I think Leeds was trying to maybe steal a bit of a march on him as well. So interesting that Aston Villa are entering the race. Maybe it's his agent putting his name out there to maybe cast a bit of bait to see who bites. And it could be that we are really interested in him. Now, we're looking at French league, Dutch league. Are these the kind of areas that we're shopping in? We're looking at younger Spanish players as well, I guess, through Monchi's sort of scouting network. But it's clear to see some of the positions: wide forward, backup striker, right back. These seem to be the positions that we're looking at, as well as right-sided centre-back. So it'd be really good to see us strengthening those areas. And then with the big one, obviously, is if Emi Martinez goes, can we get someone like Lucas Chevalier in? We've talked about him on numerous shows. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Would you be interested in Paixão? Does he fit the bill? Or would you see us getting Rodriguez, Nicholas Jackson in that wider forward role? He would obviously cost more money, I'm sure, but could he, potentially join up with Unai Emery again? And would you maybe prefer that signing to maybe sort of an unproven, untested player from Europe? Now, finally, Emi Buendia, does his future lie away from Aston Villa? Made some interesting comments in an interview with some Norwich supporters, talking about why he joined Aston Villa, wanting to join an important project. It's always funny when they say things like important project, and the important project obviously meaning that he doubled his wages every week, and that's sort of sweetened the deal on the project. But I'm sure he was interested in joining Aston Villa, obviously bigger club than Norwich, with all due respect. Maybe hasn't quite worked out for him as well as he wanted it to. A couple of really bad injuries, and didn't quite hit the straps that he wanted to last season once he got himself fit. But could a full pre-season of Emi Buendia, and then could we almost see like a bit of a renaissance for him if he were to stay at the club? There's been talk of Leeds in for sort of £20 million deal. If for me, I would snap the hands off for that price. But could we maybe see a bit of a renaissance for Emi Buendia if he could see himself getting super fit and getting back to full sharpness? Been an interesting one, but for me, he's always been a bit of a flatter to deceive player. Yes, he looks busy. He wants to get on the ball all the time, but he's never quite got involved in the game enough for me. Never quite had the productivity for me. Never quite really hit the straps of like real purposeful passes or precise passes or, shots on target, that kind of thing, and affecting the game. Yes, all the fans like him because he looks busy. He wants to put himself about. But if you actually analyze the game and look at what he actually does, for me, it's nowhere near enough, particularly when you look at what Yuri Tielemans brings. Yes, slightly different position. Or you see what Marco Asensio, obviously completely different standard of player, but someone that we wanted, someone like Buendia, to be able to at least aspire to, or at least give us the reason not to bring in someone like Marco Asensio, because he was producing goals, he was producing assists, and he hasn't quite managed to do that. So for me, I would look to cash in. If we could get 20 million for him, that would be amazing, but I'll probably be looking at more like the between 12 to 15 million mark personally, and I would be happy to let him go. But let me know your thoughts in the comments and see. But he had some complimentary things to say about Aston Villa. He's still under contract, and he probably does want to see himself get back into the first team if a move doesn't happen. He's not going to say he doesn't want to play for the club and wants to be put on the transfer list. But I guarantee if he gets his move, he'll be talking about a fresh start and a new project, and not quite being given the opportunities that he wanted at Aston Villa and all that kind of stuff. So I would take everything that he said in that interview a little bit with a pinch of salt. But like I say, let me know your thoughts. Would you like to see Emi Buendia given a chance, or do you think, let's get the money in, let's move on to other players? That's it from me tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with more transfer talk shows across the week. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more rumours coming in. Do we need to sell anyone before that June the 30th deadline that is looming next week? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on your way out. Help us on the road to 6K. And as I say, get your comments in. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.